Hi, I welcome you back to Talk with Ọlá. My name is Lua. That's where the Ọlá is from, and you can call me Ọlá. Please don't call me Muju or Mujala. Thank you very much. Today we want to talk about something that borders law and psychology. We want to talk about the eyewitness testimony, the reliability or unreliability of eyewitness testimony. You know that eyewitness testimony is very important in evidence given in court, because the court does not accept hearsay. Hearsay is one of those unacceptable, inadmissible forms of evidence, except by some exceptions. So we've done a video on hearsay evidence. Please watch it. So it's better if there's an eyewitness that can testify to things that they heard, things that they saw with their own eyes, things that they handled. So sometimes their testimony is not that reliable, not because they are deliberately trying to mislead the court, but because of several psychological factors. And we want to look at them just briefly. This is just something that is of great interest to me. I wrote a piece on it, very simple piece, very short piece. I'll link it in the description box, and I want you to read it after you've seen this video, and let's continue the conversation in the comment section. Let me give a classic example that you would often hear in this kind of discussions. Say someone is going on, maybe the postman. We don't have that in Nigeria. Let's use a local example. Maybe the dispatch rider now. The dispatch rider is trying to deliver something to a house. By the time he approaches the porch, he hears somebody say, "Hey, I don't die. God forbid I shall not die, but live to declare the goodness of God in the land of the living," in Jesus' name. So now he hears a lady, a female, a woman say, "Hey, I don't die." And then a man comes out, presumably the man, the husband, to collect the package. Now he says, "This package is for Madam So-and-so." He says, "Oh, she's my wife, bring it. She can't come out now." He's barely even coming out. Now, the dispatch rider can probably see maybe some stains of blood on the man's hand, or maybe the man is wearing kitchen gloves with some blood stains on it. And he's saying, bring it, let me sign for her." He quickly signs, and then he rushes back in and locks the door. The dispatch man is going to go now, thinking possibly that, could it be that this man is killing his wife inside? Is there a case of domestic violence going on? Should I intervene? Should I call the police? Should I tell their neighbor? What could really be happening? So he might be thinking that he has just witnessed, someone that's in the process of committing wife murder, committing murder, unlawful killing. What may be happening in actual fact is that the man and his wife are trying to kill a Christmas hen or fowl. They're trying to kill turkey or chicken. And maybe the woman wanted to kill it, the chicken is struggling. Or it could necessarily not even be chicken, maybe fish. Because if we're using chicken, it would be that it should have heard, the noise of chicken too, struggling. Let's say it's fish. They are trying to kill fish. Say maybe they bought live catfish. They want to have some pepper soup. So as the woman is trying to kill it, the catfish is, struggling and slithering and all of that. So the woman just screams, "I don't die," and she moves back, which "I don't die" is a very, very common exclamation for some people. It is their go-to. Now the man wearing kitchen gloves says, "Bring it, let me kill it for you," or "Look at you. You are even, you're a coward. You can't kill it, but you can eat it," some banter. And then he's slaughtering it. And then they hear the doorbell. And maybe he says to the wife, "Hold it down, or I've killed it, continue the process." And he goes out to collect the package. Look at those two scenarios, both of which could be very possible. But what did the dispatch man go about thinking? Murder. On their own, they will not know that somebody has concluded something about them. They're just going about their own lives. So that is the easiest example for you to understand that sometimes an eyewitness may be unreliable, not because they are trying to mislead the court, not because they are trying to be fraudulent, they're trying to be dishonest, but because they are not aware of the complete facts surrounding a situation. They can only tell as much as they can see. And now there are some factors that come into their retelling of what they actually saw, which we are going to be looking at one after the other, and which sometimes faults their evidence in court. We'll look at some of them now. If you're especially a criminal litigation enthusiast or lawyer, I recommend Perry Mason series. I think I've watched about 25 of them. Yes. Each of them is about an hour over, maybe 1 hour 30 minutes, 1 hour 20 something, 1 hour 30 something minutes. So I've watched about 25 of them. The one where I think the character that plays Perry Mason is Richard Burr. When you watch, it's courtroom drama, criminal drama, usually murder cases. When you watch and you see how he grills eyewitnesses on the stand, you realize that sometimes, many times, a lot of things affect how an eyewitness presents what they saw, what they heard, what they handled. So many factors that are even beyond they themselves sometimes. So let's look at some of those factors. Studies have shown that before we go into the factors, neuroscience has confirmed that that memory really is reconstructive in nature. That means that when you receive information, by the time you want to give it out, your brain, your mind is reconstructing it. And so in the process of reconstructing, so many errors can creep in. The normal process, for eyewitness testimony, it usually involves receiving the information, storing it, and then retrieving it for testimony. Now, what are some of those errors, some of those factors that introduce error into the reconstruction of information that was received and stored, by an eyewitness? Cultural variation is a very important factor. Cultural variation. I'll give an example, that's been given, by researchers. The example of an identification parade. There's a video on ID parade, and I recommended another movie, or I mentioned another movie. I think legal drama, law, crime, police drama, they're a very efficient way of learning the law for anyone that's interested. There are decent ones that you can watch, and they teach you a lot. They take you through the practical that you might not otherwise get on time. So you should look out. You should watch that video on identification parades. So in identification parades, a victim is usually made to identify his assailant, the suspect, in a lineup of people. So they bring people of different features. When the person describes, the person is usually when it happens in the dark at night in a place that's not well lit, where the person cannot easily point and say, this is the person that did it. So, but they might be able to tell that, from this person's accent, he was an Igbo man, he was an Hausa man, he was a Yoruba man that attacked me. Okay, the person is of average build, the person is dark in complexion, I saw that. The person has curly hair, or the person tinted their hair color wine. By the time the police aggregates the description, then they get a set of people with different features, but some of the features in different measures that the person has mentioned. Then they line them up, and then they say, identify who did. So the people lined up cannot see who is identifying them, but the person identifying can see, alongside with the IPO, the police officer or officers. So they say, identify who did this to you. Let's say it's a lineup of Chinese men or Japanese men, or any of those tribes or peoples that look alike, that have similar facial features that you cannot easily tell one from the other. Especially from if you are from another place. For instance, in Nigerian, the average Nigerian might not be able to tell a Chinese man one from the other, except by name and close interactions. So now they line up 10 Chinese men and they say, Nigerian man, point at the person that you said did this to you. There's a likelihood that he would point at the wrong man because they are all similar. So his memory is telling him, anyone that looks like this must have been the one that did it to you. Anyone that looks like this must have been the one that did it to you. So then he may point. That is cultural variation. Cultural variations can, alter or introduce errors into an eyewitness testimony. Another one is introduction of false facts. For instance, someone, maybe a man was taking his wife to the hospital. Maybe she went into labor at an odd hour of the night, early morning, and as they were going, there were some people that were performing some religious rites. Maybe they were masked or they were masquerades. They were going and they attacked the man and his wife because probably there was a curfew and they were not supposed to be there. Now, when he's telling that to the police, if he has filed a report or he comes up in court and is asked to tell what happened. Now, if he's being interrogated by someone or if he's being questioned even on the stands and anyone suggests to him, for instance, it may be someone that is from another tribe or from another place that doesn't even understand what masquerades are, the types of masquerades there are. Someone may say, oh, it is the Oloje masquerade that attacked you. Is that not so? An eyewitness might say yes, when in actual fact, it is the Agbomojo masquerade that attacked him. So a false fact was introduced, but because he did not know any better, he fell for it and latched onto it. So when false facts are introduced in the retrieval process, an eyewitness testimony can become unreliable. Emotional arousal is another factor that introduces error into the eyewitness testimony. Take the example that I gave earlier of the dispatch man. If he's someone that is easily triggered by the sight of blood, or maybe he has been in a situation where someone had committed murder and he had seen it. So once he sees blood, he might assume, oh, it's murder, 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 she wrote. And then anyone that's asking him or whenever he has to testify will just say, oh, that man was trying to kill his wife. God help the man, something then happens to the wife around the same time. It will be so easy for that dispatch rider to nail him by saying, oh, I saw him. When he came out, he didn't want to come out. He didn't want to open the door. He didn't allow the wife to come receive it. I heard the wife shout and I saw his hand, there was blood on his hand. So if he is usually aroused by the sight of blood, that can cause error in his testimony. Another instance, for instance, if you've been robbed before and there were certain circumstances surrounding the robbery, if you witness similar circumstance, it might start something in you that will be telling you, oh, this is robbery, when that situation may not be robbery. So that emotional arousal is one other factor that introduces error into the eyewitness testimony. Another factor is gap filling and assumption. Gap filling and assumption. Let's say you're working in a place, maybe you're working in a bank, and maybe as you were driving out one day going home, you heard the security man making a call as he was opening the gate for you. Then he was telling the person on the other side that, yes, on the 18th of July, don't worry, the gate will be open. Yes, in the evening. Come between 5:30 and 6:30. Come between 5:30 and 6:30. Maybe that's all you heard. And then it happens that on that 18th, there was robbery. Your bank was robbed. By the time they start calling you, maybe, of course, when a bank is robbed, the usual suspects, they would also suspect the security people because what were you doing when they came in and robbed the bank? So let's say they have arrested the security man and now you are a witness in the case. It is very likely that you will fill in the gap. What you have heard was 18th June afternoon between 5:30 and 6:30, the gate will be open. And then you would go on as an eyewitness, sincere but sincerely wrong now, to say that, oh, I heard when that man was calling his co-conspirators, he told them to come between 5:30 and 6:30. He even told them he will leave the gate open for them. Yes, he did it. He must have known something about this. This is a case of conspiracy. You You're honestly filling in the gaps and making assumptions about what you heard in part. This man may be talking about something entirely different. He may be talking about his house. He may be talking to his wife, telling her that, oh, when I close for work, I'm going to this place, but I'll first go home on that day. But you are arriving on that day, maybe she traveled. So I'll leave the gate open for you when you come in. Or whatever, it could be anything. But now because something has happened and you're a witness, you're trying to reconstruct the situation and you're filling in the gaps and making assumptions. So you may be doing it innocently, but it does not, excuse you of the fact that you're wrong. So many other things can influence your judgment as an eyewitness, and they can make you, commit errors, reconstruct, retell, or they can make your testimony unreliable. So things such as stress, emotions, such as authority figures. For instance, if you had to confess to your pastor or to your lawyer, you would probably say things differently. But if you were talking to a police officer, you would probably say things differently. There are things you will withhold. If, for instance, you were also in an unlawful, you were also in an unlawful gathering, or you were at a place doing something that is illegal, you are most likely going to withhold that part of the testimony when you're giving your evidence or your story to a police officer. If you're talking to your pastor and you know what he frowns at as a preacher, maybe things he has preached against, things he stands against, you will most likely withhold those parts of the testimony when you're giving it. So these people would believe you're an eyewitness and your testimony is unimpeachable. Meanwhile, it's been tampered with because of these factors. I'm sure majority of people are familiar with the usual experiment where someone on the podium calls one member of the audience, maybe someone in front, and tells them something, whispers something into their ear, and then tells them, go and tell it to the next person, and then the next person tells to the next person. By the time it goes around the hall and gets to the last person, you ask the last person, tell us what you heard. It will be something entirely different. This is another instance of how, an account or a recount of testimony can change once it's being told from place to place, person to person, from time to time. So an eyewitness testimony can also be affected by the number of times they have to retell it. For instance, if they have gone through maybe a lengthy interrogation and they've said so many things, by the time they get to court and they have to repeat it, they may be leaving things out by omission. Probably not because they want to leave it out. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they are stressed out and they are wondering, maybe that one is not necessary. Or they have even forgotten, or they are just omitting it inadvertently. So these things can happen. These things can happen. Also, if they have not heard what they think they have heard, they would definitely relate the wrong thing to the court or to the investigating officer or whoever needs their testimony. So I just wanted to talk about this. Let's continue the conversation in the comment section to say that eyewitness testimony is not always watertight. It is better, it is preferred because it has the mark of authenticity, but it is not in all cases authentic for these factors and several others. I will see you in my very next video. Don't forget to subscribe to those.